And we all thought Sherrone Moore was going to get fired because he couldn't coach football. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you stopping by. Here we go with the latest. And I have to credit our friend Doreen because I was headed to the gym and just gotten off the phone with a few people. And I was headed to the gym and had no regard for what was going on in college football right now. And checked my text messages on my way to the gym. And lo and behold, Sherrone Moore is making me miss my workout today. We appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. We will dive into this one. Keep in mind that we've got our Michigan guys, I believe, live right now. They will probably be a little bit more in depth in regards to, obviously, Sherrone Moore's performance at Michigan, although I have plenty to say about that. I've seen Michigan play just about every game since he's been there. And we will look at, obviously, the scandal that ensued to usher him out the door. So end all be all might be a positive move for Michigan football in getting him out the door earlier than the football would have dictated otherwise. Let's get to the story. We'll start there. And we have left the link there in the chat. So if you want to call, please give me a call. But we're going to read the story first, as reported by Pete Thamel, Dan Wetzel, and Adam Schefter. Michigan fired coach Sherrone Moore for cause Wednesday after a university investigation that found, quote, credible evidence he was engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Quote, this conduct constitutes a clear violation of university policy and maintains zero tolerance for such behavior, Athletic Director Ward Manuel said in a statement Wednesday. Bipogi was named interim coach. Of course, he was the interim coach when Moore was suspended before. The news ends Michigan. I'm sorry. Here we go. The news ends Moore's Michigan coaching career. He's 17-8. His final game was a 27-9 loss to Ohio State to conclude a 9-3 season. He'd gone through 2 years of his 5-year contract as the Wolverines head coach. And the school's firing for cause means they aren't planning to pay for nearly $12.3 million that it would have owed him on his deal. Moore was promoted to Michigan's head coaching spot in the wake of Jim Harbaugh's departure to the NFL. I believe there was some controversy involving that as well after Michigan's 2023 national title. Moore endured some off-field controversies before his firing, including a suspension in Week 3 and Week 4 of this season, tied to the Connor Stallions' illegal advanced scouting scheme. Moore was set to serve an additional one-game suspension for the start of the 26 season as well. He was also suspended for the season opener in 2023. Difficult to keep track of all these Michigan coaching suspensions. They're just everywhere. Suspended for the season opener in 23 as part of a self-imposed penalty for breaking recruiting rules. Moore was a successful offensive line coach, offensive coordinator after being promoted to head coach. He was a finalist for the Broyles Award in 2023 when he was the play caller on Michigan's national title team. The firing puts Michigan in a difficult decision of finding a coach in the wake of what's been considered the most volatile coaching carousel in recent college football history. And there we go. And again, your input is welcome. The call in line is in the chat. We will take those from you. If you're going to ask me who should be the next Michigan head coach, I will certainly not give you some kind of master list because I knew about this firing about all of 3 minutes ago. But we'll come up with somebody. That is most important in terms of knowing the details of what happened in regards to this inappropriate conduct, this inappropriate relationship. I'm sure we will start to find out some things we probably already have. They're probably out there in regards to who this we supposed young lady would be and what the nature of their relationship was. The real MVP on the line. What's going on, sir?
First off, how stupid is Sherrone Moore?
He's
Outside
pretty
of this just being a complete immoral and disgusting thing to do, just the stupidity of it.
Yes. Exactly. So if I can state it the way I've stated it in the past when coaches have done, and other athletes or just administrators or people of authority have done this, there's one thing to be a moral person of character and do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And for that to be your guiding force and direction to do it because this is the way you treat people, this is the way you conduct yourself. But it's a whole other level when that isn't even your motivation, but just to hold one of the most prestigious coaching gigs in the country, make all the money that he's making. If that is not enough to keep you disciplined, just to do it for selfish reasons, yeah, then you're pretty stupid. Yes.
Yeah, we have a lot of stupid people running around at all levels of society, and this is just another inclination of it. Mark, a lot of college football, I would say almost all of college football fans have been clashing at Notre Dame. And Michigan said, hold my beer, I want to be the worst program in the country. Has there been a more immoral program over the last 5 years than the University of Michigan?
That's what I was stating is I was trying to go through all of these coaching suspensions. You can't keep track of them. They just pile on top of each other. And my goodness, obviously, they had the recruiting violations that led to the cheating scandal that was completely different. And this actually, if Michigan responds correctly, and if they hire a really good head coach, this could prove to be a positive because it might have taken 2 more football seasons of going 8-4 for Michigan to fire Sherrone Moore otherwise.
Right, but if you are a good football coach like Curt Cignetti, it's probably going to be the most high home run name you can get. Why would you leave Indiana for Michigan? Indiana right now, first off, they don't have the cultural problems. They don't have the elitist, arrogant problems. They're just a well-oiled machine. In this new age, Indiana's figured out better than literally every other program in the country what to do to be at the top. The only names I'm seeing float out there that's realistic is Jed Fish, Joe Brady, Kalen DeBoer, John Gruden, those level of coaches.
Fish, DeBoer, Gruden. Who was the other name?
Brady, Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator.
Sure. Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point because I don't think we are in a place where we've been in the past in regards to recognition of helmet, logo, brand. Those things are still obviously important because all the recognizable names are the ones that have the most money that will pay to get the best coaches, but it's changing. And Curt Cignetti has changed that considerably, but it was already changing. And
like Clark Lee at Vanderbilt is doing much better as well as another example.
That's a great point. So it's starting to be shown that if these lesser schools, and that's not a derogatory term, they've been the lesser schools in the past, if they are willing to go in on football, they no longer have to be the lesser schools. And the longer this goes on, the more we separate from these blue bloods owning the sport. Your 17-year-old in the next recruiting class of 2027, he knows that Curt Cignetti's got a hell of a program and he's amazing, and knows that Michigan's been in trouble for 3 or 4 years and they didn't look too impressive. So this separation of what we've known for the history of college football isn't necessarily in the minds of these young athletes.
Right. There's also the Tier A candidates, which you got to call, but they will not answer Michigan's phone because they are retired and don't want to do it, which is Nick Saban or Urban Meyer. You've got to make the call, but they're not going to hire. Interesting name I've seen floated out there. A few places, actually, not just here, but other places, is Brian Kelly and Eli Drinkwitz. Do you think either of those coaches is willing to take up the Michigan job?
Eli Drinkwitz does not strike me as a Michigan head coach. He seems to maybe too much of a nice guy, like in a positive way. I don't mean that as a derogatory term, like he's too nice to win. He just seems, I don't know. I see Eli Drinkwitz, and I don't know where he's from before App State. I don't know his beginning, but he seems like a Southern coach to me. Not, he seems like an ACC, SEC coach. Now, we saw Brian Kelly go to LSU, so we can see anybody coach anywhere. And obviously, Nick Saban's from Kent State and West Virginia. So these coaches can go anywhere. I fully understand that. But I just, something tells me I don't see Eli Drinkwitz. Now, Brian Kelly at Michigan, I think that would be very difficult to sell to the Michigan fan base because of the way things ended with Brian Kelly at LSU. And as you well know, Brian Kelly is not well liked in the sport. Now, he's respected as a guy that can build a football program, but he's not well liked. And obviously his last go at it was not successful, especially at the end. So I would think that Michigan fans would not go for Brian Kelly.
Right.
They're making the decision.
Well, they don't have a lot of options because all of the good options have been taken. That's the bad part of this firing happening now. If you're a Michigan man, like everyone that was somebody has already been taken.
Sure.
And everyone's been extended, basically, that was in the running.
Yes. You're going to have to overpay for somebody who's had success, unless, can you think of any other hot shots in the group of five that they may extend for? I can't off the top of my head. Most of those guys have gone.
Yeah, I think all of them have gone. UConn, State, I think's lost their head coach. USF, Memphis, North Texas, Tulane.
A guy that's been mentioned for some big jobs in the last 3 or 4 years, but not necessarily this year, was Jeff Monken at Army.
Maybe. I just don't see him leaving Army. Like, I just don't see those service academies ever leaving there. They feel like they stick around literally for decades.
Oh,
it's like
they do. Yeah.
That's a lifer job to me.
Neo Matalolo was there at Navy for 17, 18 years, and they had to fire him. Troy Calhoun's still at Air Force. He's been there 20 years. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that's, if to the right person, that's the most prestigious job in the country because it means something much more than just football.
Yeah.
So I don't see any of them leaving their place. And I also think that's a super hard sell to the Michigan man, that you're getting a head coach of a group of five school that plays a unique style that nobody else does. And they're not even good this year in Army. I think they're 6-5.
Yeah.
So I just don't see that.
And that's maybe why his name has cooled down in the last couple cycles, because they haven't been as good as they were. Specious Birch actually is bringing up some good names from the NFL. All of these Harbaugh underlings that are out there in the NFL.
That's true. I mean, that's true. Is John Harbaugh, as you know, Michigan man believes John Harbaugh's the greatest coach since sliced bread. So are they willing to undercut what he's doing in the NFL, which is having a slightly above average football team go to the playoffs and lose the first round or second round? Who knows? Who knows, Mark?
I don't know if these are Michigan fans diving into the chat thinking that Michigan can get Curt Cignetti, or that Matt Campbell's just going to drop Penn State like 2 weeks after he got a job and go to Michigan because Michigan's such a better job than Penn State.
Yeah, I've seen Lane Kiffin floated around there too.
Okay.
That would be something. That would be the ultimate chaos scenario if he just wants to burn it all to the ground.
Yes, if he truly wanted to. But even Lane Kiffin's going to look at LSU versus Michigan. Historically, no. But right now, in terms of getting football players, it's much easier to recruit to LSU than it is to Michigan. Or I shouldn't say much easier. It is easier. You can get better recruiting classes, it's been proven, at LSU than at Michigan.
And what do you think the top thing you have to have if you want to be the next coach for this job is? Do you need great record, or do you need great character? Because I would argue you need a culture change completely at the University of Michigan. They've had literally 5 years, this entire decade, they've been in turmoil with either horrible or cheating or immoral acts.
It's a great question. It depends on how the administration and the athletic program view themselves, meaning, do they see Sherrone Moore as an outlier? Do they see him as, that's a bad actor, we got rid of him, we're fine? Or do they see that as, Sherrone Moore's a bad actor, we're fine, but to the public, we need to clean up the perception of what Michigan football is all about. Therefore, yes, we need to go with somebody that's upstanding, that has an exceptional, the first name that comes to mind. Now, this is not a coaching candidate because for obvious reasons, but somebody like Mark Richt that just had a sterling reputation as not just being a good football coach, but being a fine person. Somebody like that. I don't know that they view themselves like that. I think that they think so much better of themselves. They have always pointed to everybody else as being wrong about their violations, about their misgivings and transgressions, that I don't necessarily know that they think that they need to clean up an image. I may be wrong.
Maybe. Who knows what the administration's thinking versus the athletic department. Final name I'll throw out there, Mark, is Notre Dame is free. They're just out there and they got nothing to do for the next months. I mean, you could hit them up with a call. Their whole program's in turmoil right now. They don't even know what conference they're going to be affiliated with next year because they got left out of the playoffs. So,
well, can I say one thing for the University of Michigan? At least they did not cover this up, and they did the right thing and got rid of him.
Wow, that's a very, very low bar, Mark, we're setting.
Well, it's not that low of a bar. Now, did they do it for the right reasons? Or again, did they believe, okay, we better catch ourselves before somebody catches us and we really look bad because we're complicit to the situation? And number two, Sherrone Moore is not exactly tearing it up. Now, if Sherrone Moore had Ryan Day's record, now then that becomes tricky. Then sometimes morals and values get kicked to the side if you're trying to save a Hall of Fame level coach.
Right. Do you think this is like a Pat Fitzgerald or Mel Tucker situation? Is that potentially what you're implying?
In terms of, I'm trying to
They
put
both
those
stink
situations together.
They stank, and they stunk. They needed to be fired. The university didn't want to buy them out, so they found a reason to fire them for cause.
Oh, I think that this would have been much more difficult for the university to deal with if Sherrone Moore was wildly successful. Yes, I think they would have maybe dragged this out. Who knows how long this investigation's been going on. Yeah, that's always the situation. Rich Rodriguez got fired at Arizona, and I don't know necessarily that the situation itself would have fired him, but it was a combination of, he's really not getting the job done here. Would the football disappointments gotten him fired by itself? Well, eventually, but it wasn't at that point. But then you put together, okay, this guy's causing us problems, causing us legal problems, making us look bad, making us look immoral, putting a bad face on our football program. Plus, he's winning 5 or 6 games. Get rid of him. And,
right.
and beyond the 9-3 record, as you well know, Sherrone Moore is probably not a 9-3 football coach. There are, easy ways to find that he is underperforming.
Right, absolutely. They proved absolutely nothing this season. They just completely wasted a season. They went 0-3 in games they could have lost or was in doubt. They lost all 3 of them in non-competitive fashion, each and every single one. They're on a downhill directory. I like how the Michigan fans, when I went in their channel, the Michigan channel, they were worried about losing Bryce Underwood as if he's just some massive, irreplaceable loss. I mean, what is he? Maybe the 50th or 60th best quarterback the way he played this season? I mean, yeah. Oh, no, you're going to lose him? Who? Man, who cares?
Yeah, I got to say that I don't want to judge the guy on just a few games. So I went into this not expecting much out of Bryce Underwood, and he didn't give us much initially. Then there was a a span of games that was probably highlighted by the Washington game and the drive that he put together against Northwestern, not against the best football teams in America, but that I thought he was progressing, and then he just wilted down the stretch and looked awful. Now, Steve Dace and myself on the Michigan podcast for a couple of weeks certainly dissected that as much as I could get out of my brain in regards to what's wrong there. Is it Bryce Underwood? Or I tend to think that maybe Bryce Underwood would do much better against a program that has proven quarterback developers than the University of Michigan.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anyway, Mark, I'll get going here, and I'll be enjoying the victory lap that the Michigan program's still in turmoil. So it's been a good day for me. This has been a great week for me in general. All the programs that I dislike because they act stupid and have immoral or special rules are going down. You know, karma, Mark, is undefeated.
Thanks, Daryl. So let's start a list here. We've got Mike McDonald and Jess Minter, and I'm trying to think who Daryl brought up. Jed Fish and Joe Brady. And now I'm forgetting the other names. Were they head coaches? Jed Fish, Joe Brady. Okay. Anyway, we'll see who else we've got available. I really think that it's going to go to that NFL route. I think it's going to go Minter or McDonald. If I could make a call right now, and I know nothing about how Michigan runs its football operation or what Ward Manuel values. I think, yes, Brian Kelly was also thrown out there, and Eli Drinkwitz. That's right. They're coming back to me. I do not see Eli Drinkwitz, although that would be a tremendous promotion for him. Great elevation to a top 5 to 10 program in the country from where he is. From a football standpoint, and if all you care about is ascending in your industry to the highest level, and all you care about is the prestige of the position and the money, sure, Eli Drinkwitz is going to take the Michigan job over the Missouri job. Absolutely. He wouldn't even necessarily need to change the block M on his apparel. He could just keep the block M, change the colors, and he's all set. But for some reason, I do not see Eli Drinkwitz at Michigan. I guess I've just been accustomed to not liking the Michigan head coach, and I kind of like Eli Drinkwitz. That might be it. Brian Kelly kind of seems like a Michigan head coach. Bo Schembechler, Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, Brian Kelly, to me, I could see Brian Kelly, but I don't think they're going to hire Brian Kelly. Although they could probably get a decent deal. They could get him for cheap compared to what he was making at LSU. You would think, unless he's just too proud and stubborn to take less money, but you would think that they could get Brian Kelly for less than he would typically be worth on the open market. We'll take some more names. Lincoln Riley. Really? Okay. The only thing there is, again, we never know what relationships are going on unless they've been reported. And there have been reported sour relationships within the USC athletic department and Lincoln Riley. And he obviously has not set the world on fire. He had kind of a just good enough season to keep the seat cool and not stir things up, but he did not meet expectations. He does have a number 1 recruiting class coming in here in 2026 at USC. Lincoln Riley to Michigan. Boy, I just don't see Lincoln Riley as a Michigan head coach either. That does not translate for me as well. Go Irish Nate would love to see BK in Ann Arbor. All right, Mike Tomlin. Boy, Mike Tomlin comes up with all these head coaching jobs in college football. When is the last time Mike Tomlin coached in college football? I know that right around the time that these jobs were coming open. I know that somebody did a pretty good rundown on one of the games. It might have actually been an NFL game, showing Mike Tomlin and the various coaching staffs that he's been on. And he does have pretty extensive college experience. And I'm forgetting where it was, because they were showing all the various team pictures through the years, and you're seeing a slim Mike Tomlin from like 25 years ago. And it's quite interesting. So Mike Tomlin, let's check out his resume. Whoop. Mike Tomlin. (1996) GA at Memphis, then Arkansas State, Cincinnati. Okay, that's what Cincinnati. Who would have been there? Brian Kelly, right? Cincinnati, 1999 to 2000. No. Who was he connected to at Cincinnati? It was somebody he was with at Cincinnati that is now prominent in college football, and I cannot remember who that was. Yeah, that was way before Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly was still at Grand Valley State in 2000. Interesting. Cannot remember. And then he's been in the NFL ever since. So he has only been a position coach in college football. That doesn't mean he cannot transition. That does mean that there's a learning curve, that things are different. But boy, he has been a head coach at Pittsburgh for 19 seasons. And the first half of those 19, really good, and not so good the last 8 or 9 years, generally. Not horrible, but not up to Pittsburgh Steelers standards. And I wish I could remember the college football connection. There were a few there in the Cincinnati coaching staff at the time that Mike Tomlin was there. Tom Brady does not want the headache of being a college football coach. Rick Minter. Oh, Rick Minter at Cincinnati. Absolutely. Rick Minter was the head coach at Cincinnati, but for some reason, that wasn't the guy on the Cincinnati. It was somebody big in college football right now. And I didn't take note of it. I thought it was very interesting. They were going through Mike Tomlin and his connections to college football. So it was awfully Chuck Martin. Chuck Martin for the Michigan job from Miami of Ohio. How about, well, I'm really reaching here. I was going to say Brian Schottenheimer. Tom Brady is not going to go on my list. Yes, Rick Minter was the head coach at Cincinnati. Absolutely. But that's not the guy I was thinking of. Brian Hartline or Urban Meyer. For Urban Meyer to coach at Michigan, just think about everything that's come out of Urban Meyer's mouth about the University of Michigan and its program since he took over at Ohio State in 2012. That was 13 years ago. And now Urban Meyer, he has not veered off of the Ohio State path and just simply been an analyst at Fox. No, he is full go. You see him on social media, posts of him wearing like anti-Michigan. I just saw one a couple weeks ago before the game. Basically, he had a derogatory statement about Michigan on his shirt. I don't remember what it was. Had the M's crossed out. He is still full bore. I'm Mr. Ohio State. I just don't see Urban Meyer coaching in Michigan. Now, would that be a heck of a story? Yes. That Urban Meyer, boy, the audacity that he would think, and he would have to go out there and prove it, that he could win on both sides of the rivalry and be dominant. And of course, Michigan fans would go from completely hating the guy more than Satan to loving the guy unless he couldn't get the job done. that would really be putting his reputation on the line for sure. Super chat coming in. We do appreciate this one coming in from our friend Adam. Adam says, Mark, is there any information about whether this was a consensual relationship or something worse, such as with a staff member who was underage or not a consensual participant? Well, I will say this. First of all, if you heard me at the start of the stream, I just shot a Clemson record with our buddy Jason Priester, got done with that, immediately got a phone call, was just a friendly, personal phone call, was on the phone there, set down my phone, told this person I'm headed to the gym to work out, clicked off my phone, saw my text message. Doreen contacted me with a screenshot about Sherrone Moore. I said, our Michigan guys got it. They'll take care of it. But then I thought, you know what? What do we do here at the Voice of College Football every time there's a coaching change? I'm sure I've missed a few here and there, but generally for 10 years, we have been here every time there's been a major coach fired or hired, and here we are. So I know nothing about any of this except for what we read on the ESPN article. Now, I don't know if those are the three guys that broke the story. I don't believe it states that. But certainly ESPN's at the top of the industry, and they're one of just a few that typically break these kind of stories. So I would not be surprised if Thamel, Wetzel, and Schefter, especially they get Schefter involved in that they probably, and Schefter is a University of Michigan grad. So make that connection there, that there were things that he probably found out that he said, hey, buddies, on the college side at ESPN, the college football side, I know this or I know that. So I'm assuming that those three guys broke the story. So I know what all of you know. And since you guys are probably all over the internet looking stuff up, probably know more than I do at this point, although we can't believe everything we read on the internet, I heard somebody once say. And I tend to agree with this comment right here that Urban Meyer, I think, for as much as it probably irks him once in a while, he probably thinks I could coach that team better than him. Or if I had a hold of another team, we would do X, Y, and Z. And can you imagine going to a third school and winning national championships? That would be unprecedented. Who's done that? Saban, Meyer. Who else has done that? I was going to say Bear Bryant. No, he just coached at Texas A&M and Kentucky. I don't think he had any claims to national championships at those schools. No, A&M has not won one since 1939. And Kentucky has not. He was also at Maryland. Anyway, yeah, I think those are the only two, right? Any other coaches with multiple schools, national championships? Yeah, those guys are rare. Those guys are rare. They can step on any campus and automatically win. So, okay, he did win 1953. I thought, okay, 53 was okay. So Bear Bryant. So there's three guys. Thank you, DeReal. I thought Bear Bryant, but then I couldn't pull the trigger on Kentucky. Okay. We'll have to review that one. We don't know if the Bears going to have a national championship in Kentucky once I review that season. We'll see if he still keeps it. But the three guys in the history of the sport, I think there might be. Oh my goodness. Anyway, we're not going to go through all that. It's a very short list, but I just think that, yeah, well, Nick Saban's obviously, he's in his early 70s. Urban Meyer's like 10 years younger, but he hasn't coached for 7 years now. And I got to think that, for as much as it probably hits them every so often that, man, I could really be a legend and go win a national championship at a third school, and I could do better than just about everybody I see out here. Yeah, things have changed, and just to light that fire again, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus to be a head football coach at one of these schools. You've got to be on it every day. Like, they work a lot. Like, we criticize them for how much money they make, and rightfully so. They do make too much money, but they also work too much. It's become an insane profession. They work all the time. Basically, as Nick Saban has described, near the end of it's really midsummer, but it's end of summer for them. He pretty much finds a weekend to go to his lake house, 4th of July weekend, and then it's right to SEC Media Days. And before that, he's going to these camps all May and June, obviously recruiting constantly, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I think that those two guys have had it. They're done. They have nothing to prove, that's for sure. What about the Virginia head coach, Tony Elliott? He's had one good season against a paper-thin schedule. I don't think that he has proven enough for us to even know if he's a decent head coach. He's kind of like the Fran Brown, another version of Fran Brown from Syracuse. I don't know if Fran Brown's a good head coach. We heard all sorts of great things of him coming from Georgia, being this great recruiter, which when you come from Georgia, isn't that like 90% done for you by the school and by the reputation and the money involved? So I'm not dogging on Fran Brown, but Fran Brown's team was a dumpster fire this year. They did have serious quarterback issues that obviously were injury related. He could not control, but I'm still on hold concerning Fran Brown, and then also Tony Elliott with this Virginia team that was really bad his first 2 years. And then they were, for them, really good this year, 10-3. Got another call coming in from Muley. Muley, what's going on?
Hey, Mark. So, yeah, just trying to think and continue on your search. I mean, do you think there's a good chance that because a lot of coaches have been have been hired, and then there are coaches that have been extended, like Brent Pry or Brent Key, sorry, or Clark Lee and whatnot, that they'll just wait another season with the interim head coach and then ride that out?
Oh, you mean Michigan's going to go a full year with an interim head coach?
Do you think that could happen? Or most of a season? They might. Because, yeah, especially if they can't find, especially in the next few days, if they get like a portal exodus, could they come out and say, hey, we're already losing this many players. Let's just take this season on the chin and try to build for the future.
Okay, well, first of all, these people are paid a lot of money to make things happen in a short period of time and execute plans. So it's almost like the military. They've got a million plans that never get executed, but they better have them ready to be executed at any time. And this is one of them. Our head coach just did something stupid. He got automatically fired, and we need to do something. Kentucky fired Mark Stoops and had him replaced in like 12 hours. Matt Campbell left Iowa State. They had him replaced in like 12 hours. So the University of Michigan can certainly get a capable head coach and not have to go through a season in an interim status. The only big program I can remember that went through an interim, obviously we had Stanford just this past season, but that was kind of part of the plan. They saw that Frank Reich stepped in. Obviously, Frank Reich has great experience in the NFL, and they wanted him to pull the reins through. And yeah, they were going to sit back and wait a year. Ohio State did it, but the Jim Tressel tattoo scandal, all of that was like deep into May, somewhere in that range. So I think that Michigan should be going to get themselves a head coach and not just punting a season with Biff Poggi as the head coach.
So, but how would that look like? Because also the thing is with Michigan, there's high standards, right? Uh,
Sure.
so, but at the same time, so are you going to say because of that they're not going to be picky and take a guy like, let's say, Brian Kelly, for example, because he's not a very, like you mentioned, he's not a very liked person. And if would that be a good hire given like the timing of this, or like what, like how would you assess that, for
So
example?
think of, let's think together of all the, I'm doing this on the fly as well as you are. So think of all the great jobs that have been open in the last 5 years and who got a shot at these jobs. There are only so many dudes around that have, serious resumes.
Hmm.
There's only a couple Kirby Smarts and Dabo Sweeney's. Then beyond that, there's only so many like Matt Campbell, even, and we're just talking about winning like 55% of your games. Like think of the Florida openings. They hired guys like Will Muschamp, who had no head coaching experience, Jim McElwain, people like that. Not that impressive. Uh, Dan Mullen did a nice job at Mississippi State, but nothing spectacular. Like a lot of huge jobs have been filled by guys that Mike Norvell at Florida State, Willie Taggart at Florida State, even Jimbo Fisher at Florida State was never a head coach. So most of these jobs are not filled by guys that, oh, he's won 3 Rose Bowls and finished in the top 10 8 times. He's an obvious choice. There's even for as much as people don't like Brian Kelly, and it is easy to make fun of his misgivings, he's got a record that's, in terms of length and success, only matched by 5, 6, 7 guys in the sport. There's not that many guys out there like Jed Fish. What has he done? And he's going to be a prime candidate, I would think, for this job. What has he done? He's had a decent year at Washington and had a decent year at Arizona. That's all he's done. So guys get jobs with not much backing them.
Okay, right. And if that's the case, could it be someone who maybe be someone who's more on the, because with Brian Kelly, he's had a long tenure Notre Dame job, which where he won a lot of games, but he could never get over the hump. And then LSU, he made the conference championship one year. So basically what I'm getting at is Brian Kelly, we've seen him for the past decade plus be a very good head coach, but not quite get it there. You think they might take a swing on someone else, like maybe who is less proven than him? But like, I'm not too familiar with many coordinators, but let's just I mean, take Bama, Ryan Grubb. He's had a pretty, the way that the offenses came around here, and the way he's done it, brought the most out of it. For example, could someone like that, for be who Michigan would go for?
I don't think so, but I wouldn't be shocked. It's possible, but I don't think that they're going to go that route. I think that they're going to hire. I really think that they're going to go to the NFL and get a top assistant and maybe one that's connected to Michigan, either Minter or McDonald.
Okay.
Somebody just brought up Jeff Brom. Now, unless Jeff Brom views Michigan as a much better job than Penn State, he just turned down Penn State. So I don't know why he would go to Michigan if he just turned down Penn State, unless they just back up a Brinks truck.
Well, also a Jeff Brom, because didn't he get a big contract extension? Because of that, wouldn't it be much harder to get because his buyout would be a lot higher? Wouldn't it be much harder for Michigan in those kind of?
Yes.
Yeah. So even if he wanted Michigan, how feasible would it be even for that to happen?
If Jeff Brom wanted to go to Michigan?
Yeah, let's assume that he's like, oh, I'm interested in this job, but given the contract extension and the high buyout, like, would that be pretty feasible? I mean, I know
Sure, it would be.
Michigan had.
These schools are paying all sorts of money to get these coaches that they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, it's getting negotiated down typically. That's what we keep hearing. And also, yeah, Michigan's going to do, if they really want Jeff Brom and he really wants to be the Michigan head coach, I also think at that point, the school, the AD, the administration would be like, well, if he really wants to go and they want him, we're not keeping him around. Go.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and if we're going to talk about guys who turned down Penn State, I mean, do you think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Kalani Sitake, didn't he turn down Penn State?
Yes. Well, BYU, who knows what would have happened there, but I guess BYU really stepped up to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah,
I unless a coach, a person doesn't have a heart, it would be very difficult considering Kalani Sitake. This was in the news about Penn State, and he knew, even his players knew, this is in the news, and they actually showed something. Wasn't really watching intently, but I know that it was during the Big 12 championship game. They showed a video of him telling the team, "I'm back, I'm staying," all of that, and them cheering and going crazy. Now, can you imagine if like 3 weeks later or less going to the team, "Oh, I took this job"? No. I don't think that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Just given that he had a big name job too, similar to the. I'll finish it off with this. You kind of already hinted at it with Minter, but is there any not just guys in the NFL, but any like maybe recently retired players or like someone who was part of like the Harbaugh staff that maybe still there or somewhere else, that anyone else that Michigan might look to pursue, or just yeah.
I don't know if Wink Martindale has any aspirations of being a head coach or what they think of him. He's done a nice job as a defensive coordinator, but I don't know that. I think he's kind of the long defensive coordinator type. So.
Okay, for sure. That's about all I have. I'm not very well versed with my coaches, so yeah, just
these situations always catch me off guard as well in regards to having a list in my back pocket but all you have to do is kind of brainstorm and think about who's available, who are the top coordinators in the sport, who are obviously doing an exceptional job at their current place. And because again, guys don't need to be available. Hardly any of these guys that are getting these coaching jobs were available. Really, none of them, right? None of them. They all had jobs. So we don't have to think about anybody that's available right now. For sure.
For sure. Right. All right. Well, thanks, Mark.
Yeah, appreciate you being here.
Appreciate you.
All right. This is what we do here at the Voice of College Football. I can think of all sorts of hirings and firings through the years, and we jump on live to talk with you. And again, I just found this out just seconds before you all jumped on board. I'm guessing that most of you knew about this before I did, because I saw litany of live streams across YouTube as I was firing up the stream myself. An interesting part of this that's been brought up in the chat I see recently that we really didn't address is the nature of the indiscretion and what that means. Now, Adam brought up the legality of it being non-consensual or with a minor. Now, that goes completely into the legal realm, of course, breaking the law. And then there are just things that are inappropriate that have been deemed inappropriate by the school. And Sherrone Moore knows that regardless of what we think personally about him having a relationship with somebody that's on the staff, let's say. Some of us may think, big deal, they're adults, they can do whatever they want. But he signed a contract, and the contract stipulates, obviously, because they're firing him with cause, stipulates that you can't do that. Now, the next further step from it being egregious legally and then morally would be, is he having some kind of inappropriate relationship with somebody not related to the university? Did that read that way in the inappropriate relationship with a staff member? There we go. We're done. Okay. That's all there is to it. Yes. So we had our first caller, DeReal, jump on, say, Sherrone Moore's extremely stupid. He is. You just have to guard against that. You just have to know, I have a job that I will never replace the rest of my life. Sherrone Moore is never going to have a job this prominent the rest of his football career. Let's make that straight right now. Anybody can call in, laugh at me, say, I told you so. You were wrong, Mark. If Sherrone Moore ever has a job this prominent in college football, I will be stunned, because there's only about 5 of them, first of all. So this was his big chance. This was his chance in terms of a career move. So regardless of how good looking she was or what the situation was, you can stay on the rails and you can go pursue somebody else. Yes, we men are stupid in this area. I think we all know this. That's why you have to have a plan. You have to have decisions made before temptation comes. You have to make the decision before to know, this could happen. I could be this stupid if I don't put up the right boundaries and parameters to make sure this doesn't happen. Because either somebody finds out because they're really dumb and really out there, or it goes bad at some point. The relationship, 99 times out of 100, those type of relationships that are immoral turn out bad. It's not like, oh, they got married and lived happily ever after and had 5 kids. No, that's not usually how it ends. So it goes bad, the relationship ends, and then what happens? People talk. So maybe the woman came forward after, maybe she was perfectly fine with the relationship when it was a relationship. Then when it was over, I didn't want it to be over, or I didn't like how it ended, or I didn't like him when it was all said and done. So, hey. Or she just couldn't help bragging about it around the office. Who knows? But it almost always comes to roost. All right, we got gold foil experiment. My apologies. I don't have my contacts in. High character guy, Big Ten experience, younger PJ Fleck. Well, that certainly is a guy that is bantied about. Now, this is not necessarily at the time in which PJ Fleck's stock is on the rise or is at its highest. Like post 2019, when Minnesota went 11-2 and finished in the top 10 in the country, that's when it was like, whoa, this PJ Fleck guy. 2016, Western Michigan was a disaster. He goes there, has the best recruiting classes in the MAC, goes undefeated, goes to the Cotton Bowl, doesn't get wiped out by Wisconsin, actually competes in the game, and his stock is obviously through the roof. He gets a Big Ten job at Minnesota, and within 3 years, he's going 11-2, and boom, he's a star. Since then, okay, he's fine. He's okay. He's all right for Minnesota. He's 8-5 PJ Fleck. Now, that might be a great job at Minnesota. It may not be. We'll have to see the next guy and how he does. But he's really not a hot commodity right now. His football team looked lousy much of this past season, but possibly. Adam is chiming in with this one. If Moore had been fired simply for having a relationship with a staff member, they would not have added the word inappropriate, which would be entirely unnecessary. There is something more to this. And obviously, Adam, you're a lawyer. You know much more about this than I do. I do believe I'm correct in stating this, that it's well within the organization or business's rights to say we have a policy of no fraternizing, or however it's stated, that used to be the old term, in this setting. Like we don't want any of that because we just don't want it to enter into the workplace. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. We just don't want it here. Two people can work together and I've seen it all over the place. Shoot. You can imagine at ESPN, like all you had to do is kind of go around the room and be like there. And so I saw it done above board and done the right way. And there were conversations to make sure that those people in question, okay, let's separate them, work responsibilities. Let's just watch it, make sure that they're being professional and all that. But it's fine. It's allowed. So forth. There were a few others I could tell you about that. There were a few others I could tell you about. My goodness. And yes, both of them, see ya, gone. And suddenly, oh, so-and-so's not here and so-and-so's not here. Oh, did you hear what they were caught doing? So couldn't tell you, Adam. All of that is going to be bandied about because people will speculate, but on top of the speculation, of course, there will be factual information that will leak and get out there for sure. All right. Adam says, I don't know. If I were employing people, I would just feel like a judgmental ass for firing people because of what happens in their personal life. Again, we're talking about in their personal life with another member of the staff. I don't know how I would approach that. If I had 100 people, if I had this major complex, the voice of college football, we had 100 people working here in the same building, I would think of that beforehand and maybe allow it until I came across an incident where this was not good for the work environment. Because what happens? Again, people most likely, the most common result of these is they break up. And then you got problems. All right. Oh, I saw a name thrown out there. Oh, are you guys trying to guess who I'm talking about? No, you would not know. All right. Hawkeye Howard, I did not see this coming. Well, I will not speak for this gentleman that you all know, and I believe you all know well. But this person does not care for Sherrone Moore and actually has kind of predicted something like this to me personally. So he's right. He's right. Mario Cristobal from Michigan. So the list currently is Jess Minter, Mike McDonald, Jed Fish, Joe Brady, Brian Kelly, Eli Drinkwitz, Jeff Brom, Kalen DeBoer, PJ Fleck, Mike Tomlin. again, I think it's funny that every time there's a college job opening, a good one, Mike Tomlin's brought up. All right, folks, we appreciate you being here, the voice of college football. That's about as far as we can take it tonight. I've got nothing else to say except Sherrone Moore is a knucklehead. That's obvious. Again, this goes for all sorts of situations. I believe I'm speaking to like 94% men, as I typically am. We're men. We have certain desires. That's how we're built. That's who we are. There's nothing wrong with that. But you got to realize, Sherrone Moore has to realize, just like Mel Tucker and other people, I'm a guy. This is who I am. I've got all this power. I got all this authority. And I got the best freaking job I will ever have in my life. I can't screw this up. I'm already kind of screwing this up from a football standpoint. I got lucky to play the weakest schedule in the Big Ten to be 9-3. So maybe the miraculous will happen and Bryce Underwood will turn into the true star that he's supposed to be. And my coaching career is going to be phenomenal. But I've got the best job I will ever have. So there's all sorts of women I can have relationships with. Believe me. Hey, believe me, there are all sorts of relationships, potential relationships out there. Trust me. So just select the right people. Ultimately, select the right person, but just know who not to select. It's unfathomable. It's unfathomable. Again, you have to make these decisions before they occur. You have to know what you're going to do, how you're going to protect yourself and your job. All right. So much appreciate all of you being here at the Voice of College Football. I really believe that we may take this in place of the Thursday late show at 10 p.m. Eastern time. I've got the Miami show in 1/2 hour. And then I think we will just say this was the 10 p.m. Eastern time show. And we will be back here Thursday night. That's going to be a little touch and go. It might be a little bit late. I do have some plans on Thursday night. So it might be a little bit late on Thursday night, but not too late on Thursday night. Thanks for being here. And good luck, Michigan, in finding a head coach. And we will see you on the Miami show in 1/2 hour.